All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to tonight's show. It's a special one. I'm stoked for this one. I've got creator, founder, and publisher of Coffin Comics, home of the Coffin verse, Mr. Brian Pulido. How you doing, man?
What's up, you savages? Thank you
This
for
is
having
gonna
me.
be fun, man. You are like literally the first creator I've had on here, and I'm a big fan. For those people in the chat right now, I usually get right into the chat, but for the people in the chat that don't know, what is Coffin Comics? What are you guys all about?
Coffin Comics makes rock and roll inspired supernatural comics. Our flagship character is Lady Death, and she is a wielding battle maiden who fights evil on earth, in hell, and wherever there is an ass that needs to be kicked. Let's not get it twisted. This isn't War and Peace. Our comics are one part world wrestling, 70s Marvel horror anti-hero, little Jim Starlin cosmic, and certainly like your favorite Ronnie James Dio record put into a recipe and like thrown back at you. So if that's something you might like, we are completely your cup of tea. If that's not your game, that go no further. Walk away, son. Now's the best time to get away. But largely our game too, even though it's what I described, we're really about having a good time. Like I like to think that Coffin Comics is an AC/DC song come to life. That's
Right.
our game. That's our objective every day.
Yeah, in a nutshell. There you go.
Yeah.
So Lady Death, right?
Yep.
Your that's your girl. That's the big thing. That's like your baby right there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been extremely successful with Kickstarters, crowdfunding, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I was playing around on the Kickstarter before, and you guys offer a lot
we do.
on there.
Yep.
And now let me know if I get this right. So you have your minimal objective, right? The standard Kickstarter objective. And then there's almost like levels where each time you hit a certain number, you're throwing more stuff in for anyone who receives a physical item.
That is exactly right. So I guess as sort of like a memorial, our goal is always $15,000 because when we started out 5.5 years ago, that was our goal. So it's certainly not what it takes to produce these crazy extravaganzas any longer, but that is our kind of a ceremonial goal. But like you said, Barry, we hit certain goals and then we just start cranking out these free bonuses. And shame in our game. I mean, to date, we've unlocked 17 free items. So besides your basic Lady Death, Treacherous Enemy, 48-page square-bound book, now has silver foil logo, square-bound, story. Among those things, receive if you're a physical backer, a whole nother comic called Lady Death Masters, featuring the art of one of our guys, David Harrigan, 32-page comic, free. You would get Treacherous Infamy #1 black and white edition. Because our readers and collectors groove on the interior art, I pick my favorites and just let people luxuriate in it. And if you're anything like me, I'm a guy who grew up on comics. So I love to go back and just look at the art and just kind of lose myself in it. So we include that, but that's not all. This time around, we even introduced this thing. This is called Lady Death Little Naughty. And this is a micro comic, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and it's 16 pages of naughty themed art. Gary, even that's not all. We've unlocked stickers, bookmarks, pogs. I mean, the list goes on. We unlocked so many items, Gary, that I forgot. So yeah, I guess, dude, for me, somewhere along the line, this is part of the expression for me. So crowdfunding really kind of works for the way my brain works because I love making the comic and putting it together, the contracts, the wheeling and dealing, great artists in, like we have people have never done a Lady Death cover, like Simonson, this kind of stuff. But I have a promotional element. When I was a kid, going to the library and I was reading the biography of P.T. Barnum, and I just love that kind of promotion, that over-the-top promotion. So as much fun as other people are having, please understand that we're having a good time too ourselves.
And whatever you're doing right, because your crowdfunding over the last 5 years has raised over $4 million. Is that right?
Something like that. So there's the facing a crowdfunding campaign where you see the money realized, but then there's another element called the survey period. And that's another chance for people to pick up anything during the campaign they may not have gotten. And in that case, that does account for an additional 15% of funding for us. So yeah, I think we're all total roughly that arena, believe it or not. It's remarkable. And that is,
and you guys are on volume 12?
Yeah, so Lady Death, Treacherous Infamy. This is volume 12, chapter 12 in Lady Death's undead life in her Coffin Comics era, where she returned to Daddy. I launched Coffin Comics. I literally woke her up out of a 20-year spell-induced slumber, and that just became the new reign of terror of Lady Death.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If people don't know, you've been in the business almost 30 years, correct?
Don't rub it in, kiddo, but it's true. Yeah, my first comic was published in December 91. That was Evil Ernie 1. And yeah, I've seen it. I think I might have seen it all. And I have peers or contemporaries, like a guy like Jim Valentino, he's an acquaintance. He's been in it for 10 years more than I have. I feel like I've seen it all. And, this is the, life and the career in comics. It's everything. It's been kinds of stuff.
Well, all right. So I'm glad you brought up Evil Ernie 1 because so what's going on? I don't know if you know, but I go out and I buy a lot of comic collections. Yeah. And I have like it's funny because it was just today I was talking about in today's video. I always have these little goals, these little I hope to find kind of books, these rare short print, we're going to get into that because I'm excited to talk to you about that. So some things on my list, which I just found the other time, maybe a week or two ago, was a Bone #1 first print. Tick, I always look for the Tick, the special edition, the white cover, Turtles 1 first print, stuff like that. But one thing on my list is Evil Ernie 1 through 5, that original run, first Lady Death. And I found it one time. I still have it in my collection. So this is actually first Evil Ernie, first Lady Death, correct?
That's true. And first, but it's not the first Smiley the Psychotic Button. Smiley first appears, I believe, in #2.
Well, funny you should say that because #2 is right here. And #2 is considered, this is the first Lady Death cover, correct?
That is the first Lady Death cover. And that's a nice one.
So this is stuff in my personal collection. I have all 5. And I only found it one time out of all the years doing this. One time, they were all together, and they were all in really good condition.
I can see that.
All over 9. I think 9.4 is my lowest grade. Like this guy took care of his stuff. So I have a question about this. What was the print run on these?
So I actually so Malibu Graphics was the publisher. And at one point, they gave me a public report. And this is my recollection of the print runs. Evil Ernie 1, 10,400. #2, 6,800. And then beginning #3, it started going up again. And it was I think #3 was 7,800, 4 and 5, similar, about between upper 7, early 8.
So extremely low. So these aren't easy to find.
They're not easy to find, and as you noticed too, Gary, those things were done on newsprint, and so even the cover, I don't think that was more than like 40-pound newsprint. So very delicate, real easy to have extra stress around the staples. I mean, it's a very easy book to mess up. So that you have it in high grade is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was so excited to find those because they're not easy to find.
So you and I don't really know each other, and I got to tell you, like, I am a humble human being, but I got to tell you one thing. That Evil Ernie #1 cover is like the coolest cover by Eric Michele.
Here you go.
It's crazy. Look at it. I mean, it's the I'm biased, but that is a high amplitude cover. Like you look at that cover, you know what you're getting into.
December 1991. That's your baby right there.
That book came out. We were working behind the scenes on it with Malibu, and the whole series came out. Finished up by what is it? So February, March. By April of '92, somewhere around there, I'm getting a call from the publisher, and they're like, "All right, don't get your hopes up or excitement up, but this book has proven to be successful. We want to put out a quote unquote special limited edition." And so there is a book called Evil Ernie Special Limited Edition. I think the print run was higher on that, and I don't know what the print run was. It was a reprint of number 1, but in the back pages were 12 additional pages. And what I did on those pages, I treated each one as a double page spread, worked with Stephen Hughes, and we actually laid out the story that we were going to tell, and we did tell all the way up to December 1999. Somewhere around there, we did get another call, and we started negotiating with Malibu Graphics to do the sequel. So, I asked for everything, man. So for the sequel, we really weren't paid much, and that's fine. It was creator owned. So we took the best, worst deal that allowed me to retain ownership. And as soon as we started doing a sequel, I'm not going to name the publisher, but they just try to hammer me for the ownership. And I was never going to give it up. It was just not part of the, why would I do that? Anyway, so I negotiated for color. I negotiated for this, a couple more bucks, la-di-da-di-da. And maybe that ran all the way into December of that year. And then after we had made a deal verbally, I got a call on a Monday and they said, yeah, you know what? We're not going to do this deal. And that coincided with the launch of their Ultraverse. And it was really only at that time I had kind of tested the water with other publishers, but they weren't getting what this was about. So it was around that time where I said, okay, I got to launch it on my own. And really very, very little. I launched with the faith of Stephen Hughes and the efforts of myself and my wife, Francisca. We launched Chaos Comics, and we came out. It was June '93 with our first book, and we were off to the races since then. I mean, got pretty successful pretty quick, which was
it's funny. I found a lot of that run, that second Evil Ernie run. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, that first one was tricky, man. It's extremely hard to find.
It is, because I think there's two reasons. I could be wrong. A lot of people hold on to them, and then they were just rare. Whereas the second one you're referring to, our print runs were already in like 60,000 range at that point.
There you go. Now, we talked about some of my books. I want to know about yours. I know you're a collector.
Yeah.
Right. What are you collecting right now? What's it all about for you?
Well, what it's all about for me recently is I largely, quote unquote, completed my collection, honestly, about 15 years ago. So now what I've been doing is what a lot of folks do is I've been going back and getting certain books and improving the grade. So one of my books is Captain America. So, some of earlier this year I had some fun acquisitions. I picked up a Conan 1, I think it was a 9.4, and it was a graded book. I'll have some of these books non-graded, but now I'm kind of let's see here. All right, asking. I'll get into what I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
In terms of collecting, I've actually gone back and now I'm getting some Golden Age Captain America. So I picked a couple of those up. And I've been improving my Captain America 100s. So I have a multitude of them, and I'm always looking to improve the grade. So in terms of collecting, I've actually, because of our global circumstance, it's really given me a chance to reconnect with my own collection. I'm rebagging and boarding, and then I'm kind of seeing what kind of gaps I want to fill. But I'd say for the last year and a half, I've been going through this real 70s #1 thing. So back and getting more Godzilla 1s, Nova 1, Dazzler, anything, sort of obvious, anything monsters or 60 monsters. I'm less of an EC guy, but I'm definitely a timely monster guy. So like the timelies. So in terms of collecting, of all things too, I'm filling in like a Nova run, Marvel team up, that kind of stuff. But I guess I'm getting kind of ruthless because it's a space consideration. So I'm looking for high grade slabbed books.
Yeah, that
And
Nova,
for
you better
anyone,
watch out for that Nova run, man. Nova 1 is a little bit on fire now.
what's up? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's all so certain are so heated up, like Ghost Rider, Marvel Spotlight 5, Ghost Rider, and I look at it compared to like America 100. I'm like, what are you people thinking about? Like, why Nova 1 like so heated up?
Oh yeah, all the Bronze Age stuff is going through the roof right now.
Yeah, and I think it might be because like people in my age range. So I'm 58, and now I just spoke, and like we're going and recollecting our memories. And I think what happened, if you go back 2 or 3 years, it was cooler. But I think it's warmer because it's fundamentally accessible compared to, Golden Age or even silver. If you think about it, like some silver, me trying to get a high grade Captain America 9.8, it's bananas, the pricing. Whereas some of the bronze a couple years ago was more reasonable, and now I just think there's more people in the game going after it because it's.
Oh yeah,
I believe it's more attainable than silver or gold.
Right now it is. There's like a multitude of factions. Like the people who have spending money are in that age group now that can go back and get those books. You have the MCU, which the movies are driving everything.
True.
The silver, I think people are hanging on to the silver now the way gold was. However, you can't find gold. Forget it. That's real hard. The silver's drying up left and right. You're running into bronze now. And with the MCU being as ridiculous as it is, they just talked about Spider-Woman. So now you have the Marvel Spotlights 32. Marvel Spotlight 32 is going to blow up now. Yeah. So they're taking these Bronze Age characters because they've dabbled with the silver, right? You've got Cap and Thor and now everybody. Sure. Now they're in the bronze. You're going to see the Novas, the Spider-Womans, Ghost Rider. You're going to see all of that. Wait until the X-Men come. Forget about that.
True. Yeah, that's true. I guess it's time to jump back on X-Men. Before it goes kooky, like, giant size X-Men 90.
Oh my God. That is in another stratosphere.
It's crazy. Yeah. But it's fun. Look, it's just a fun hobby. It's always been a fun hobby. There's so many things that are attractive. First of all, you could read the stories. A lot of us grew up on this stuff, and it's kind of reconnecting with that. And then it's just fun to to pay a lot of attention to your comic books. Like I've been doing rebagging and boarding, and I have some archival bags and boards for all my keys and going back on that stuff. It's just it's a fun hobby. So much about it is fun. Everything from reading, collecting, bragging.
That's the best. See, what I always say, and I've said it a bunch of times on my show, is like the thing about this hobby versus other hobbies is the amount of avenues you can take, whether it's original art, just reading, just certain artists, statues, toys. I mean, there's so much. You want your books raw, you want them slabbed, silver, bronze, gold, modern. There's so much. You could just certain characters. Like you're a Cap fan, so like you just Captain America alone, you're going to cover how many different titles if you're trying to look for Cap stuff, so
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that I don't know another hobby that just stretches those kind of lengths. It's wild.
It is. I also like that a person could choose a certain sort of collection. So I have a friend in New Mexico, and he collects. His goal is to get every book that came out on the date that he was born. So the month, year, and that's an interesting collection, right?
Oh, absolutely. A different direction you can go in the same hobby.
You bet. Yeah, I know. And then someone said, well, I'm looking for all the books that came out in the year. And I'm like, okay, well that's a very ambitious collection.
It's going to be quite a few.
Also, I showed earlier this micro comic, and some of my sub collections that I find fascinating is, I have most of the Power Records Marvel books. So that'd be a comic book that's reproduced with a 45 record. It's about a bunch of them. It was Werewolf by Night. There was a Cap. There was Man-Thing. Those are fun. And then even there's a long history of these little promotional comic books. They're tip-ins to things like Drake's Cakes or a product line called Bubblicious, where it's a little miniature comic book.
Oh yeah.
I have it in the other room, and a piece of gum. So it's fun to go into those tangents. And then I even have a collection of Marvel books that you would only get at the Army bases.
Oh, the Mark Jewelers.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's any kind of weird promotional book that has Captain America, like NFL Super Pro and Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not me being a ruthless collector where I'm looking at something that's going to, an investment that's going to change my life. It's sort of feed that habit that's always there of chasing after a collection or something to fill in. I mean, another one I have, I can't show you because it's in another room, but I collect Marvel 1975 Slurpee cups. So I'm out to complete the collection of all 60. And there's two types. There's the tall thin, and then there's the short stout. And I collect tall thin because the great majority of the ones I have, I got when they came out as a kid, driving down a 7-Eleven, having my Slurpee. And so the shape of the cup was based on the region. So that makes it equal nerdy and fun. So, yeah, I mean, we could just go down the rabbit hole. There's just so many ways to collect, and it's fun.
So let's circle back to Coffin Comics. Now, you guys are doing we're going to give away 3 Coffin Comics prize packs tonight. So I'm looking for good questions. I'm looking for questions here for Brian, and we'll pick three people whose questions we really like, and we'll get those out to you. So get the questions in. I do want to, yeah, here you go.
Yeah, Lilith is cool. In my collection, it's almost like a given. All my collection are all the Marvel Monster keys, like all of them. There's Coffin TV saying it's an amazing collection. I've been collecting, man. I've been collecting pretty actively without fail since July of 1974. So I have all kinds of crazy sub collections.
Yeah, I've found. So and I think this is like kind of what you were talking about. You can lose control of it. You can be all over the place. Like you could be everywhere. I've sold off a massive amount of my collection just to streamline it.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's almost overwhelming. Yeah,
space. Gary, what's your focus? So that's got to be tough as a comic seller and collector. That's a difficult tightrope to walk too.
Oh yeah, I'm a collector first.
Yeah,
that's the most important. The only reason I sell books is so I could buy some for myself.
I get it.
But my main focus is I collect Batman, I collect Thor, and I collect Green Lantern. That's my focus.
Those are dudes. Well, actually, I mean, did you read Thor #6 that just came out?
No, I have to get it tomorrow.
Cool, man.
It's
a good one.
That's all right. So there's a ton of questions coming in, but I got a question for you. What are you currently reading right now?
So the current book that I'm reading that I'm really enjoying is Thor. The Donny Cates run, #6 just came out. It's been great. And I'll follow writers. So I've been following that particular writer since God Country at Image.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been reading his books, Redneck. And when he jumped over to Marvel, of course, I'm reading his Thanos stuff and Guardians. I'm a little behind. I have some of his Guardians. I read his Cosmic Ghost Rider, which was a hoot.
How about, did you read his Venom?
No, I have it, but I haven't read it. So I think maybe this weekend will be that.
Get ready for that one.
Right on. Yeah, I have it, so I get to read it finally. Sometimes I like to wait till they're all. And I am a Captain America collector, but I am currently dissatisfied with the stories. But, like I'm a long-suffering Cap fan. It's mostly bad. From my perspective, it's mostly bad stuff, but I'll still buy it. And in terms of, I've been going back in time. And so I've been reading everything by the guy, I think I'm saying his name right, Jeff Lemire. So he did Black Hammer. Jeff Lemire. So I went back last month and I read all of Black Hammer and I loved it. Amazing.
That got a green light, I think. I think that's going to be a show.
That's what I heard too. And I hear he's actually writing it. So that's cool. And then I just enjoyed it tremendously. I found it super weird, but he's able to make it completely accessible. So that's a skill.
And writes, I'm pretty sure. He does it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then because of that, a friend of mine I was just talking about, and they said, well, you should read Sweet Tooth. So I got a hold of Sweet Tooth. That was a Vertigo series a couple years ago, and that just completely blew me out of the water because I love post-apocalyptic stuff. So that was tremendous. And then I just started 2 nights ago. I'm going through Invincible.
Oh, God.
The Kirkman. I never read it. I mean, there's only so much you could read. So I've just.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm going to read the whole damn thing. So I'm sort of
I was talking to a buddy of mine, Ryan, today. And he said Invincible is probably his favorite title run, maybe of anything.
That's cool.
Straight through.
Well, I really look forward to it, and I certainly have seen the art, and I've seen like these amazing covers that are like really jarring. And
Pretty sure it's all Otley.
Yeah. I can't wait till that I'm reading the early stuff, and I can't wait till he comes on board in the stories I'm reading. But I'm a big Kirkman fan. I loved Walking Dead. I adored it completely. So I like his style, and I love in his work that he just gets a team together and they just do long runs, which I really, really like.
Them together. You notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just stay together. All right, here. I'm gonna just start firing off questions. When you really like one, we'll put that guy's name aside and they're gonna win something. All right. So first up, here you go. What's your favorite comic of all time that's not yours?
Oh man. That's again, that's tough. What comes to my mind is Commandy by Jack Kirby. Commandy was about the last boy on Earth. That story ran. Kirby's run was, I think, up to number 41, too. And they're just remarkable books. It's kind of like a riff on Planet of the Apes. The idea is that this kid's the last kid on Earth. He comes from a place called Command-D. He escapes it, and he enters a world where animals can speak. And he encounters the wildest stuff, not only speaking lions and gorillas, but he goes down to Florida and he encounters this crazy snake named Slacker, who basically has this horse racing place, but instead of horses, it's giant grasshoppers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And
dude, all the Kirby stuff from the 70s is like, it's classic. It's
for me, dude. For me, it's like the closest thing to religion. There's something about it. Like, we're in my office. And right next to me, right here, I got so much Kirby. And it's sort of like, in case of anything, it's sort of like in case of fire, break this. It's like, in case, I don't know, man. It's like, it keeps the spirit. So there's a company called Tomorrows, and they do a professional fanzine called the Jack Kirby Collector. I have a near complete run here. I have so much Kirby just nearby. I don't know why. It's like a security blanket, but
that's a blanket. That's all right. We're going to go to Matthew Fox next, but first we did get a super chat and I lost it. Hold on. Where are you? There you go. Economics and Comics. Lady Death is sick. All right. We're going back up because this, I was curious about this one too. Matthew Fox. Now, if you're happy with any of these questions, we're putting that name aside. Matthew Fox, what was the first big comic in your collection?
Avengers number 4. And here's
that's a big book.
It's a big book, but check this out. I used to live, I graduated New York University, the New York City area, and I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey in the late 80s. And across the street from where I lived was this miraculous place called Interstate Video World. They rented VHS tapes, they had ice cream, and they had long boxes filled with comics. So I'm rooting through the long box, and dude, I got Avengers number 4, probably for like $6.
Oh my God.
They didn't care. They just dealt in volume. And I got a lot of other neat comic books. Another run I got that I discovered was called Warlock 5, a comic book by Aircell. But yeah, I got my Avengers number 4. I got for like $6 in a long box at an ice cream parlor. So that's one of my favorite big books and it's a fun story too, because I didn't pay much, et cetera, et cetera. So that's
I love those.
Yeah, you're a winner.
Right up your alley with this one. Will we ever see a Muerta and Lady Death crossover?
Well, funny that you should say that. In the storyline that we're running right now, which began earlier this year, called Malevolent Decimation. Do you have a copy of it nearby? I do. One sec. Malevolent Decimation does feature a crossover with Lady Death and La Muerta. And then our current Treacherous Infamy is the second part of that. Where'd that cover go? Come back. And what happens is, in this particular storyline, Lady Death essentially is evil. She actually reverts to her original self during Evil Ernie Youth Gone Wild, that vibe. So we had to cast the character La Muerta and another character, a demon hunter we introduced called Mujai, essentially as the protagonists of the story. Because Lady Death's straight up evil. She's the supervillain of her own comic. So yes, the answer, Timo, is yes. And if you want to see that crossover now, I highly recommend you go to Kickstarter. In the search term, enter Lady Death Treacherous, and you can be part of this ongoing story.
Actually, I can show this if you want.
Why don't you show it?
Let's show this. Here we go.
So Universe X is also asking, what am I anxiously waiting to read? I'm very anxious about that new Keanu Reeves story, Berserker. That looks pretty cool. And I'm old school. I guess I'm looking forward to seeing Walking Dead Deluxe. But without further ado, all you ghouls and ghouls, feast your eyes. Would you consider playing the crazy video we did for this?
I don't know if the sound will come through.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I don't think the sound will come through, but you just hit congratulations, 275.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
so
1,908 backers. It's incredible. We have 22 days to go.
Yeah, a lot of time left, too. There's a lot of room to grow on this one. So this is what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
All unlocked bonus items. So basically, guys, if you back this with a physical item, so you back and your reward is a physical item, you're going to get a lot of stuff. You're not just going to get, right, your one physical item. Oh,
right. You're going to get, in fact, if you continue to scroll down, we probably have a graphic that shows all the different things.
Well, here's all the lady. I do have a question for you. Maybe I should win a prize pack. Any chance of these 12 books going in one hardcover omnibus type thing, or maybe two?
It's almost as if we've conferred, Gary, on this question. However, we do have a series of trades where we collect 3 to 4 books, but I am happy to announce on your show that in 2021, we will do Lady Death Slays Omnibus Volume 1, which is going to collect the first 10 chapters in an oversized edition.
That's a lot, because you're on 12 right now.
Pardon me?
You're on chapter 12 right now, right?
We're on chapter 12, so we're going to collect the first 10. It's a nice story break, and we're going to do our omnibuses in 10 chapter increments. In each of our chapters, the stories run about 48 pages of story and art. So between all the extras that we're going to put on in the back, it's going to be over 500 pages.
Jeez, that's a big book. Now, here we go. This is what I was talking about right here. So
if you back or
is that correct?
Pardon me?
This is everything right here that's currently unlocked.
So far, yes. So that includes 2 full-size 32-page comic books, a mini comic, a 2-inch enamel pin, we call comic cover pin, campaign sticker, about 4 trading cards, 4 pogs, because we're bringing back the pogs, a refrigerator in a mini print. That's just to begin with. And if you scroll down, we've unlocked even more because we can't fit it all things. So there's even more. We unlocked a 5th pog. We just yesterday unlocked a bookmark, and we are heading towards unlocking this item at 2, which is the 2021 Lady Death calendar. All these things come literally free if you back any of our physical, non-digital rewards. And I'd like to say, pardon me for sounding this way, but that's a heck of a lot of value for 26 bucks.
Well, and you know what? And this is why, let me swing back over here. This is why I think you've been so successful, is because you guys are giving a lot to the fans, which at the end of the day, which is probably the best part of these campaigns and the crowdfunding, is it's direct, the source to the fans. There's no middleman. Like, it's as close as fans can get to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, throughout my career, I've been very clear, like, where my bread is buttered, and my connection to our ultimate, end user. That's been everything. It's always been everything. I've always recognized that since the very beginning, because, I'm like a 28-year independent comics publishing veteran. I mean, early on, this is not the type of thing that's easily adopted by stores and all that, and that's fine. So what we like to do is we like to go right to the source, and crowdfunding has really accelerated that tremendously.
Oh God, yeah. All right, Here we go. Rapid fire time.
Rapid fire.
What is your plan for the future? of Coffin Comics?
The future of Coffin Comics will be revealed to you September 24th, 25th, and 26th at Coffin Comics Crucial Con. Crucial Con, where we're going to lay out 2021. And here's the thing. You're asking, what's the future? A very persistent comic book publisher who is highly methodical and has his stories plotted out for 10 years plus. So yeah, you go to, if you want to know more about what we're about, go to coffincomics.com, upper right, sign up for the newsletter. But you're asking the right question, and we're going to really let you know when we do our next virtual convention event, Coffin Comics Crucial Con, September 24th, 25th, 26th. And if you were part of our first virtual con, which was Coffin Comics Con online in March, it was bananas. And we have learned a lot since then. I think you will be entertained.
All right, Bobby S., if you're still in here, do me a favor, email me at verygarycomics@gmail.com, because we'll get you one of those prize packs, because that was a good question. Yeah. It seems like these questions, you're like releasing more and more information about stuff coming out and upcoming
things. You guys are bending my arm. What's happening here? I'm getting strong-armed, releasing all this information.
Here you go. This is off something a little different. What comic line got you into reading?
I got into reading comic books when I would go to flea markets on the weekend with my family in the late 60s. And there was a couple booksellers, and they were selling comic books where they had the logos ripped off. Oh, yeah. So I would just pick up things like 70s Marvel comic books. And even before I could actually read, because in the strange but true category, I actually had initial reading disability. And comics, in part, helped me overcome that a little bit. I was a little behind by third grade, I think it was. And yeah, in part, comics helped me do that. And back then, I was reading kind of what you'd imagine. I was reading Archie, Richie Rich, whatever was out at the time. So 70s Marvel Monsters, X-Men, whatever was on the shelves.
There you go. Here, Don Davis, I see a lot of different stuff in your books. What are the influences that help you the most?
That is it's almost like a different show, but I mean, as you can tell, I'm sort of a high amplitude person. So
I haven't noticed.
So there's everything from, I'm always reading like books on marketing and business to kind of refine my business acumen. But I actually do on my bookshelf, that's almost like laid bare all the various influences. But a dear friend of mine pointed out to me that everything that I learned about business, I really learned on a movie set. Because in another life, I graduated NYU Film, and I went to work in the film business. And I started out as the kid who got coffee and, like running errands. But I ultimately worked my way up to a job called First Assistant Director. And what that person does is orchestrate all the various crafts for the director to then direct the work. And what that did is it helped me understand logistics, supply chain, working with different crafts and timing them out to get things done in a certain time frame. And I think that was an immense influence.
There you go. You're right though. A whole nother life, man. That's a whole different everything.
It was. I mean, I did all that stuff before '92. I do want to say one thing though. If I was to say like the number one thing that really has guided me in terms of business principles, it's Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's just a really good book, and some of the supplemental education out of that I found very, very useful. Just as a mechanical way to conduct a business life is really good. Is there a project I don't regret not doing? It's funny.
You regret not doing.
Yeah, and it's not in comics at all. What comes to my mind was, again, I used to work in the film business, and I was doing the music videos of the day, Queensryche, Kiss, Heavy D and the Boys, whatever. And I got a call to work on a Guns N' Roses video in New York City called You Could Be Mine, which was the tie-in to Terminator 2. And I got a stomach flu, and I could not do it. I mean, it just... it's so funny too, because I work regularly with those guys, and I got another job offer at the same time. So one production company thought I was lying about having a stomach problem to go work on another one. And I'm like, no, I would chop my pinky off to work on that Guns N' Roses. But as far as like in the world of comics, yeah, I don't see, probably the only regret is not having to do something with a comic book version of Night of the Living Dead. They've been very blessed where I've published Halloween, when I've written Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, Chucky, but I just haven't touched Night, and that would have been fun, but whatever's clever. So when is the next La Muerta coming out? Comic Crypt of Castle Hills would like to just let everybody know that we just shipped the La Muerta Kickstarter, which is Retaliation. And next year in May, we're already at work on the next La Muerta. And to know more about what's going on with Coffin Comics publishing slate for 2021, definitely attend Crucial Con Online.
I'm trying to. I am so far back on the chat here.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Do you think DC Comics crews deserve the loss of jobs recently? So, Jungle, I'm just going to be playing with you. I don't know nothing about it. So this is what I do. I stay on my lane. This is my lane. I make Coffin Comics. I'm here to spread love and joy. I actually don't follow what's going on with other publishers at all. I don't know what's going on. I wake up, I work on Coffin Comics. I'm sure all my people, fiends are taken care of. So I am aware that there was a downsize and there's something going on with AT&T, but I don't quite know what's going on with that stuff.
Here's
if I could work with any artist or write that I haven't, well, I would love, being that DC is having a bit of a shakeup, it'd be great to have Ivan Reis come work with him again, because he was on Death for 6 years.
His Green Lantern stuff was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's great, and he's a phenomenal talent. We're still in touch. We're still pals. I asked him last time I saw him in New York a couple years ago. I said something I'd never asked, because at this point now, I mean, Ivan and I go back 20 plus years, and he worked on Lady Death for 6 years. And I asked him something because he showed me a sketchbook that had showed some early work, and I said, "So Ivan, let me ask you a question. Were you always good?" And he said, "Yeah, I was always good." Because he is a remarkable talent. Not only is he amazing, he's fast. He turns in work every week. So what do I think of DC's?
That's crazy that he is that good and that fast, because Rice is crazy.
It's crazy. And he'll bust out these covers that are just like, whoa. So no, he's remarkable. He's like Greg Capullo is another phenomenal talent. He's a peer for 20 years. I mean, gosh, Greg Capullo did a cover for Evil Ernie #0 that came out in December '93. He's another incredible talent. So what do I think of DC's Dark Knight's Death Metal books? I definitely plan to look at them. I think they're kind of a hoot. I see what they're doing there a little bit. So I just read Deceased, so I enjoyed that. And I read some of the previous Death Metal, but I'm going to have to get more current on some of the newer stuff. What artist do I hope to? Pardon me?
I was going to say, here you go. What artist do you hope to work with someday?
Ivan Reis would be great. You know what's fun is Lady Death is a character who has some sort of standing in comics, particularly independent, allows me to go out and work with some talent that, I just adore as a fan. So the idea that Walter Simonson recently did a Lady Death cover is very much a thrill. And Comic Tom,
are you here to talk about Commandy? Like, he already knew this guy. You're a big Commandy fan.
Comic Tom gifted me a Commandy #12, I think, last summer, which was very nice of him, and we got to talk some Commandy. But yeah, that's I lost my train of thought, but
yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, to work with Ivan Reis would be kind of fun again. And we were talking about comic artists. So I can't disclose, but again, I got in some new stuff by people you wouldn't imagine. And it's always fun to kind of work with tremendous talents. I reconnected with Ken Lashley, and he did a Lady Death cover, which is running on our current Kickstarter. Mike Mayhew this time, Kenneth Rockefort, Shannon Mayer, some real incredible talent. What character would you bring into the Coffin Comics line if possible?
Can I give before you even answer, can I give Eric one of these prize packs? Because I want to hear the answer to this one.
So we're saying it's sort of like a crossover. Someone coming in, man.
Whether it's a crossover or you're just writing the story, if you could bring them in.
So for example, a hypothetical. I'm taking Bizarro and popping it into the Coffin verse.
There you go.
For me, probably. Gosh, that's interesting. Well, let's bring all those cool '70s Marvel monsters over. So Satana, Ghost Rider, Tomb of Dracula, Lilith.
You bringing Morbius over?
By Night. Pardon me?
You bringing Morbius over?
Let's bring Morbius over. So we'll do that's one story. And then Lady Death and Spawn gets a crossover. And then that's a different story. They're going to fight Malboglia and the Clown. And then on another story for fun, we're going to go over to the DC universe. And it's clear that we got to deal with Zatanna, Deadman, the Spectre, perhaps Hellblazer.
Let's just bring the whole Justice League Dark team over.
Let's do that. So we're going to do that. And then for kooky stuff, let's definitely bring Lady Death and insert her back into Walt Simonson's run on Thor.
Oh, God.
You know, it's interesting with the character Lady Death. I see her in a very flexible manner. So depending on the story, I am thinking like Lady Death as Conan. Sometimes I think of her as a blunt force weapon, so I am thinking Conan. Sometimes I'm thinking of her like a spectral Dark Knight, hence like a Batman Spawn vibe. And then sometimes, like right now, we're dealing with her as a very magical being, so I'm thinking Scarlet Witch, Phantom Stranger. I like that she has that kind of flexibility. So, Eric, that's your long-winded answer. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. Let's do it.
Eric, do me a favor. Email me, verygarycomic@gmail.com for your Coffin Comics prize pack. We've got one more to give away, but I like the Q&A here. I like some of these questions.
They're fun.
Here you go. This is a great one. What's an upcoming title you're anxiously waiting to read?
I'm definitely Universe X. I'm looking forward to reading that new Keanu Reeves book from Boom called Berserker. I think it's a really interesting premise. I like John Wick a lot, and I like what they're looking to do there. In terms of, let me see here. I've been sort of tuned out a little bit in the Marvel DC thing, if only because I've just been so like in my thing. I really enjoyed reading Thor #6 earlier today. That was a thrill. Thor #5 ended like really intensely. I won't blow it. Gary,
yeah, I'm sure everyone in here has read 5. Maybe we won't blow it. I haven't read 6 yet, but I know what happened. I can't wait to get tomorrow. Get my hands on it tomorrow.
Yeah, it delivers. That Donny Cates is really, really good to deliver like big fat moments of like fanboy joy. And I think other writers have done that through the years. Like I thought Bendis was doing that for a while. Warren Ellis was doing it for a while. But right now, I think Donny Cates is that guy, or Mark Miller, just like,
I was just, it's crazy. You're talking about Donny Cates. I was just talking with my LCS, Anthony, at Alternaverse, who's actually in here. We were talking about how Donny Cates, when you read Donny Cates' Thor, and you'll eventually go back and read Venom, you can't tell, in my opinion, you can't tell that's the same writer. And I feel like that's a tribute to how good he is. Because when you're reading Thor, it's Thor. Like when you're reading Venom, it's Venom. You can't tell it's the same guy writing these things. And I think that's awesome. I mean, both stories are outstanding.
Well, I mean, and then there's a story over at Image, Redneck, which, completely different.
Which is a whole, and he's got something new coming out too for Image.
He's doing a
crossover or something?
Yeah, crossover. Yep.
People are super stoked about the omnibus. That's next year?
Yeah, I think we're going to offer it actually this time next year. It's going to take a little while to produce, but I could show you. I mean, the size, it's, trades are like yo. Yeah. This thing's going to be like yo.
That's, oversized. Here's a great one. What is the hardest criticism you received, and how did it motivate you to push forward?
That's a good question.
That's a tough one. Good job, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, the hardest criticism. It's interesting because we do live in a currently kind of a critical world. So like that stuff kind of doesn't land as much anymore. The edges of all that stuff's dulled. I've been in the game for 29 years, so it's like someone being critical is a little less. I'm trying to think back in the formative years. Well, many years ago, I wrote Ernie as a screenplay. And it was my first attempt at that. And I sent it around to movie studios at the time. So this would put it in 1989. And a development executive actually did take the time to give me some really good criticisms in the work. And I think back, it was a different time because now no one would do that. You have to go through agents and they can't do it. But this woman, this lady, really took the time and went beat by beat on certain core principles of the story, which now seem obvious, but at the time they didn't. And basically what she said is, why is he doing this? And that really led ultimately to the premise behind Every Good Man is a Good Woman, and ultimately to Lady Death. So
there you go.
It was the hardest, but it was it really provided an insight. And how did it motivate me to push forward? Luckily, guys, I don't know what the heck got in my DNA when I was born, but I wake up high amp, I wake up, let's go. I mean, anyone who works at Coffin Comics knows. I always say to folks that work at Coffin, I'm like, look, I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. I'll write the book, I'll sweep the floor. So I've been very lucky that I've been high amp. It's just kind of in my DNA. I come from like serious working stock in New Jersey. I come from my mom was Irish. My dad was Spanish. I think I'm third generation. They were second. And these were like immigrants who came to our country because they were starving in their own country. They were escaping potato famines or what have you. When they came to America, they were like digging ditches and, doing what you had to do. So I just think I come from that stock. So I'm not an unmotivated human being. That's not quite on my bandwidth. I'm sort of just known for being high amp all the time.
Here you go. Here's a good one. Lady Death and Vampirella.
Yeah.
Who's winning? Lady
Death wins. Lady Death, see here, this is what I say about Lady Death. Lady Death versus Thanos, Lady Death wins. Lady Death finds a way. Here's the thing. When Vampirella's cute, but she's no match for Lady Death. Lady Death's a warrior. Lady Death's not above dirty tricks. I mean, it's very difficult to fight an opponent who has, when it comes to fighting, has no limit. So yeah, my answer to any of them is Lady Death.
Lady Death. Which books are you thinking of having Shannon Meyer do the covers for? Mayer?
Well, let's be honest. Shannon has his choice, so it really is up to him. Shannon actually did do this cover on the current Lady Death Treacherous Infamy campaign.
Oh, I saw that on your YouTube video. You were going through, you had all the question marks on all the different covers.
Yeah, and then we would do a reveal. So this is the one that Shannon did. I would definitely like to invite Shannon to do more covers, and if he so chooses, we will conspire together on what is next. But he's a singular, phenomenal talent, and we've known each other from the con scene for years. I would love for him to do more.
Comic book villain. So Lady Death is the Ric Flair of the comic book world.
That's what I'm saying. No, she's the Undertaker. Let's be honest.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I skipped over some good ones. Let me see. I liked here you go. Who was Lady Death modeled after?
This is a longer conversation, but so I created Lady Death somewhere in like late 87, 1988. It was the height of the thrash metal era. I am going to concerts and enjoying all this phenomenal music from Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Ozzy, Motley Crue. It's such a great time. And I'd already created Evil Ernie, and Evil Ernie was kind of a reflection of what I saw as the thrash people. And so I guess the recipe for Lady Death begins with a body type, which would be a voluptuous body type, a response to a wafy body type, which was popular at the time. So body type was Anne Margaret, Marilyn Monroe. Okay, so we got that piece. And then there was this horror hostess in Los Angeles in the early 60s that really captivated my imagination. And her name was Vampira. And Vampira was sort of a very edgy version of a Lily Munster, that kind of pale, dark-haired lady, except she was super brutal. She was not tethered ever to a man. And I found that inordinately captivating. And when I thought of the goth characters of the time, I thought that, I noticed that they were very pale, but I thought, let's take that to the ultimate level. Let's do an absence of pupils. Let's make the hair white. Let's have all the characteristics be that pale. And in terms of look, that's where I was going. Now,
here it is. This is her.
Yeah. And then, the costume design, which I've actually been complimented on by a lot of big artists, is very, very simple, but it really is to the point. And achieving that simplicity is just a whole other thing.
Sorry, I got another one for you. Oh, before we even go, comic book villain. I like the question. I like the answer. So you're going to win our third Coffin Comics prize pack. Again, email me at veryverycomics@gmail.com. Don't be shy. Get more questions in. We are 55 minutes, man. This is flying by. Here's a fun one. What Marvel character would you like to do if you could?
Earlier this year, I was actually playing around with the idea of doing a Captain America story. One where he would jump around in time. There was a story years ago done in the Treasury Edition format called Bicentennial Battles, where he jumped around through time. And I actually started playing around with that a little bit. So maybe just as the Cap fanboy, perhaps another, I love Ghost Rider. I never see him handled right for some reason. But maybe go for it, Cap. But look, to be real honest with you, I really adore what I do. Like, I really got into comics to tell my own stories, and that's been really my drive. I was very, very lucky to work on a Marvel project that I came together with Marvel on called The Supernaturals. And it was a short-lived 4-issue series that came out during Halloween of 97 or 98. It was fun. It was remarkable. So I don't really wake up in the morning and say, hey, I want to do that. I wake up in the morning and say, I want to tell Lady Death's next story. It's just my orientation, And
it makes sense. It's your baby, right?
Yeah, it's what I do, And like a lot of the folks who are like on the feed tonight, I'm a fan, so I can just enjoy stuff as a fan and perfectly enjoy it that way. Got comics like Captain America or anything that we've talked about tonight, but I don't really necessarily wake up in the morning and say, I yearn to tell a story of those characters because, I'm a guy who tells his own story.
Yeah. Only a few more here, but this is probably hits right home. Are you going to unlock any more of the Hell Witch Forsaken by Lucio Perillo from the vault?
So there is a thing called the Coffin Vault, and some of you boys and girls out there know it exists. It only opens very rarely, but this is another exclusive, Gary. You did it.
Here we go.
The Coffin Comics Vault will open next during Coffin Comics Crucial Con, September 24th through 26th.
This is a full. There's just news dropping left and right tonight. It's crazy.
So whether the book you're requesting is part of that or not, you will have to tune in to see.
Here we go. Brian and Walt Simonson, Lady Death versus Hela for Valhalla. There's a story Absolutely. For you. Both you guys on it.
I'm all about it. That'd be so much fun. I love the character and the character design. Enchantress, all those amazing character designs by Jack Kirby that Simonson made insane. Obviously, you can see a character like Hela being some sort of an influence. Like, Gary, we can do a whole hour on what would be the influence to bring together a character like Lady Death, because it is a lot, and I would say Hela. So any chance of Lady Death getting a sidekick? The closest thing to a sidekick that Lady Death has is her weapons maker, a guy named Brock the Troll. Now, Brock is a troll, and he has made some of Lady Death's most formative weapons, including Nightmare and this sword that she wields as we speak called Chaos. Sadly, Brock was killed in the story Scorched Earth. The question remains, is anyone ever really dead in comics? Stay tuned. So sidekick, She's not really, she's like a lone wolf character.
We've got a $5 super chat from Earth Angel. Thank you. Was Brian a chaos magician? I've always wanted to know.
I cannot confirm or deny that I am in league with chaos magic. I cannot confirm or deny. But maybe your suspicions may come to something. I don't know.
We're coming up on an hour, man. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight before we head out?
Well, first, I want to thank you, Gary, and everyone who's attending in the chat for the opportunity to speak with you. Comics it's kind of crazy because it's my career, but it's a hobby. It's just a fun thing to do. To speak with you about comics is a pleasure.
Thanks.
I would like to cordially invite each and every person who was on the chat to back the Lady Death Treacherous Infamy Kickstarter campaign, which is running right now. For as little as $26, you can get 48-page square-bound comic book, 17 unlocked free bonuses. And if there's anyone in the chat who could testify to the quality that we put out, I'd appreciate it. So I do cordially invite you. Now,
I backed I think it was number 20 on the list. It was the hardcover and the trade together.
That's great. Yeah, that combo. That's a cool one. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that one. Well, one of them I wanted was gone already. The one with all the hardcovers. There was 3 hardcovers, I think.
Yeah, that one got snapped up. And you know what happened was that was the end of, literally, it was like the last 15 copies we had of those particular hardcovers. So yeah, that even surprised me. That got snapped up pretty fast.
Yeah, I was like, so that's what we went for. I'm excited about the omnibus. I'm super stoked for that one.
That'll be really premium. So again, I'd just like to thank everybody for the opportunity. If what we're discussing tonight sounds interesting to you and you want to know more about Coffin Comics, please go to coffincomics.com. Go to the upper right, sign up to our newsletter. Our newsletter is released every Monday. We always have information and what we call infotainment, and perhaps we can induce you into the world of the fiends and the sworn, which is actually, if you look from afar, you're thinking it's a bunch of bikers who like comic books. But the truth is, it's probably the greatest group of people in comics. You know, just a lot of helpful, fun people. We all just really like to have a good time. I think the general attitude with Coffin Comics is like work like a captain and party like a pirate, because, you know, we only get one shot at this thing. So let's have a good time while we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I mean, you've gone through 12 of these things. You've been raising a ton of money. You're not putting just anything out there. People are walking away with a lot of stuff. Back this thing because you're getting a lot of content, a lot of stuff.
And again, if you would like, you know, rock and roll inspired supernatural comics, it's your bag. If it's totally not your thing, this is not a superhero comic. This is about an anti-hero. And this particular year, she happens to even be the supervillain in her own comic. But if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I cordially invite you to back it today. That's
one last question.
Gary.
One last question. This is actually a really good one. Is this a good place to jump into Lady Death?
Well, the answer is yes. Chapter 12 is a good place for you to jump on, give it a read, and if it is to your liking, perhaps then you can go back and consider looking at the other chapters. This is an ongoing, ever unfolding story, but each element stands on its own with little story undercurrent. So I do think it's a good time and a good place to jump on. So thank you for that jump on now question, Joey Bags.
All right. With that, guys, thanks again so much for watching. Appreciate it. Monday and Thursday content. Head over to Coffin Comics. Check it out. And appreciate it as always, too. Remember to keep it comics. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.
You too.